College was actually the only other CUNY to make the list, so John Jay is a great choice. As part of the CUNY system, John Jay College has one of the lowest tuition fees among public colleges and universities in the nation, starting at approximately $6,000 a year for in-state students. And just some resources that John Jay has. We have single stop, emergency funds, the food bank, and scholarships. And I'm sure we could think of even more like the Career Center and maybe an internship. So single stop, John Jay College of Criminal Justice is actually the first four-year college in the nation offering coordinated access to services and resources in a one-stop shop through a single-stop site, funded by the Robin Hood Foundation. So single stop offers financial counseling, and we actually have the financial counselor here today, Mario Gutierrez. He can talk a little bit about what it offers.
Thanks. So a couple of months ago, someone walked into my office with 3 credit card statements, 2 credit cards that she did not recognize. Once we pulled her credit report, we saw 2 other credit cards that she was unaware of, so 5 credit cards in all that she never opened, just opened in her name. We discovered a mortgage in her name to a home in Pennsylvania, believe it or not. And cherry on the top, we discovered a medical collection bill in her name for some sort of cosmetic surgery. As you can imagine, she was under a lot of financial distress. I am happy to say that we were able to dispute most of that, most of those debts. Most of them were taken off of her credit report, and now she's in the process of putting money away on a regular basis for saving for medium-term goals and long-term goals as well. Once again, Mario Gutierrez, financial counselor. I actually work here at John Jay happily once a week, every Wednesday. I meet with students one-on-one, where we personalize a lot of the things that Nicole splendidly presented. Many times it's centered on budgeting and figuring out how are they going to survive. But certainly there are other areas as well, and I'll take a moment just to describe them. But just to kind of give some more information on the program in general, NILAG is the nonprofit that I work for. NILAG stands for the New York Legal Assistance Group, and we provide free legal and financial counseling to New Yorkers throughout New York City, Westchester, and Long Island. So we are a legal nonprofit. We don't charge anything for these services, and everything is confidential. But tucked into that organization is a robust financial counseling division, which I'm the supervising financial counselor. So in one of our projects, the Single Stop Project, we provide financial counseling to 8 schools, 7 community colleges, Gutman, BMCC, BCC, so on and so forth, and the pleasure of being here at John Jay, the only 4-year school that has the service. All of this is couched in the Single Stop Project, so we're just one element of Single Stop. Single Stop also does provide free legal counseling, benefit screening, and other areas of assistance. So back to the financial part of this. So certainly one of the biggest things that most students come to me is to figure out how can they make a small amount of money last a long time. So many times it's about forecasting, figuring out what their monthly obligations are, what those expenses are, and then doing our best to figure out how we can manage that on a month-by-month basis. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not possible without further assistance. So many times it's a matter of mitigating the damage, figuring out how can we minimize perhaps some of these expenses if possible, because it's not necessarily easy, as you all know, here in New York. And then figuring out a longer-term plan to recover from perhaps debt ownership and things of that nature. Second to that, however, are other areas that we focus on. Credit, so figuring out how do we establish credit if credit has not been established and if that is your goal, but also to improve that credit, whether it's the credit score, disputing items on that credit report, or just optimizing your credit score through best practices. One in which, just wanted to kind of throw it out there, is making sure that if you do have a credit card, that you're not overutilizing that card. You all might have heard that certainly credit cards have limits, but there are in fact two limits, if you will. The credit limit, that's the most you can spend on the credit card, but also the utilization ratio that you're going to want to be aware of. Just because a credit card says here you can spend up to $1,000 on this card, doesn't mean you ought to. So just so that you all know, 30% of your credit limit, try your best not to go beyond that. Because if you do, you will start to have an adverse effect on your credit score. So it will start to dive. So once again, $1,000 credit limit, try your best not to hold more than $300 of debt on that card. Besides that, we also unfortunately have a lot of clients and students who are in debt beyond just student loans. And we talk about what their options are. And sometimes, in some cases, the only option is to stop paying and to kind of leave the debt alone for the short term, and then for us to revisit it and try to recover from that. And then beyond that, we certainly talk about banking, making sure that they are taking advantage of all the banking features, but also finding the best deals out there. And then finally, and this is certainly not the most insignificant thing we deal with, perhaps it's the most important thing, is figuring out what the students actually want. So in terms of their goals. And many times those goals are connected, almost all the time, to some sort of financial, some sort of financial backing, if you will, whether it's saving money to go on a trip, to get a car, to avoid the car loan, or other things that you can imagine. So in short, that's kind of what we do. We are open to seeing students whenever. Even though I'm only here on Wednesdays, I certainly do my best to make myself available via phone or email, sometimes even text, to help students navigate through these difficult times we have. Not sure if you want it, but I can certainly answer some questions if there's enough time for that or no. So are there any questions in general or maybe specific? A friend or something? Yes?
You said that not to hold any more than 30% on each card, or like in general?
On each card and collectively.
Why is that?
Well, because that's the stupid rules they set up. And by they, I mean the creditors and the credit reporting agencies. So basically, the whole premise behind that is that if you are holding more debt on your credit card, you are perceived as to be more risky. So if something were to happen, chances of you paying back that debt are lower than if you had less debt on that credit card. So it's just, keep in mind this is just a snapshot. So we're talking about the credit score here, so it's just a snapshot of your credit usage at that moment. So you certainly might be using more than 30% of your credit card one day of the month, and your credit score will show. But then a few weeks later, you pay it down, your credit score will increase. Any other questions? Yes, please, yeah.
I know when you, well, I'm not gonna say I know, but I've heard that, like, if you have a credit card and it takes 7 years to bring your debt back, right? To like refigure everything, if your identity was stolen, it takes 7 years for it to come back?
So, yes and no. By that, what I mean is, so if your identity was stolen and you are able to prove it, and by proving it, unfortunately, it means getting a police report, getting all the creditors to, accept the fact that your identity was stolen. If you're able to do all of that, you will recover almost immediately. Because those credit card companies will stop reporting that. They will discharge that debt. You won't owe anything on it, if indeed you are able to prove that you're a victim of identity.
Because that happened to my mom, but it took her 7 years to get the credit, get her score back up.
Certainly. So, and it should not happen. So if indeed she were, or anyone else, able to prove it, it should not be reported because it's not your debt.
So we gotta try to keep these records for our own sake?
Well, certainly, yeah. And disputing things, because it might pop back up on the report, and they might, sometimes they're shady like that, they'll just kind of put it back out there for a variety of reasons. But generally speaking, if you do have some sort of negative mark on your credit, let's say you missed a payment, that will indeed stay on your report for 7 years. If you no longer pay a debt, once again, it will follow you for 7 years. So for 7 years, it will have some sort of effect. Granted, it will minimize in terms of the effect as time passes by, but in your 6th year, you might apply to get a car loan, let's say, and the car dealership may just shoot the interest rate up just a little because of that unfortunate mistake. Well, to end on a chipper note, don't worry too much on that. There's best practices. You can Google everything, so if you were to just Google best practices with your personal finances, you'll see some really simple steps in terms of how to avoid some of these unfortunate situations. But certainly I am available, so certainly take advantage of that if any of your friends, and actually we do see family members as well here, so if anyone you know, if anyone needs financial counseling, we certainly would be happy to deliver that.
So like Mario said, Single Stop also offers several other services aside from financial counseling, and these are legal services, public benefits, and tax prep. So legal services allows you to consult with a lawyer from the Legal Aid Society. In partnership with the Legal Aid Society, students and their households can access legal aid services at John Jay Single Stop office to address issues of public benefits, immigration, housing, family law, employment, consumer law, or any situation that may require legal counsel or representation. Legal Aid is the nation's oldest and largest non-profit legal services organization, and it advocates for low-income individuals and families across a variety of civil, criminal, and juvenile right matters, while also fighting for legal reform. They also help you apply for public benefits. So Single Stop aims to harness two of the country's most effective anti-poverty tool, coordinated access to government benefits and resources and a college education. Some of these benefits include tax credits, health insurance, SNAP, also known as food stamps, WIC, temporary assistance for needy families, and more. Students and their households can learn if they are eligible to apply for these and other public benefits at Single Stop office with the assistance of new innovative technology and a Single Stop counselor. And they also offer tax prep. So they prepare taxes in partnership with the Food Bank for New York City. Students and their households can prepare their taxes at Single Stop office during tax season free of charge. Walk-ins are welcomed February through April, and you just need to bring the list of items there in order to be seen. John Jay also has emergency funds, and these funds are available through the generous support of the Carol and Milton Petrie Foundation and a John Jay College Foundation. Funding can be used for Metro cards, food vouchers, emergency housing assistance, medical care, and other emergency situations that would interfere with the student's ability to remain and succeed in college. So just something to keep in mind if you do have an interest in the emergency funds. It's not an unlimited resource, so it would be best to go at the beginning of the semester where they have more money available. And I'm back. So to find out if you're eligible for this, both undergraduate and graduate students are eligible to receive this grant. However, they must meet the following requirements. So if you're a full-time student, you have to be enrolled here. You have to have a minimum GPA of 2.0 and demonstrate the aptitude for higher grades. If your financial circumstances were altered, so this is determined by a recommendation letter from one of your professors. And as a part-time student, in addition to the requirements listed above, you need to have completed 9 credits, or the equivalent of 3 courses, or 4 required classes, and supply evidence of an internship, a part-time, or full-time employment. So students in need of emergency funding should be referred to the counseling department or the wellness center. Counselors will meet with the student, assess the situation, and provide assistance and follow-up planning to help the student achieve self-sufficiency. And this is just some information about where the wellness center is and their hours. So they're open Mondays Thursdays and Fridays from 9 to 5, with Tuesdays and Wednesdays being their long days, closing at 7. Something that I found personally interesting was the fact that John Jay actually has a food bank. So to use the food bank, you must be enrolled in courses at John Jay. Each visit to the food bank requires you to check in at the front desk and have a short interview with a peer educator. This interview would determine your eligibility, what kinds of food you like, and other necessary information. And they get most of their food from the New York City Food Bank. Products offered depend on availability and current finances, and they try to provide as much variety as they possibly can, while allowing for cost limitations and providing students basic nutritional needs. So, just some more information about that. They're open Mondays through Wednesdays from 12 to 3 p.m. and Thursdays from 12 a.m. to 4 p.m. So they will see you on an emergency basis if needed. Food can only be picked up if you are a currently enrolled John Jay student who complete an application form, and that application is only good for this semester, so the academic term that they have applied. And only one student per household is allowed to apply to the program. You're allowed to pick up food twice a month from here, one time between the 1st and the 15th of the month, and once again between the 16th and the end of the month. And if you are interested in becoming a food bank member, you can call the numbers listed there. So John Jay also has a number of scholarships available for their undergraduate students. And again, for everyone who plans on applying to grad school, there are scholarships listed specifically for grad students as well. And just something interesting that I found was that I had a discussion with a professor when I first started here, and they talked about how they're on the scholarship committee and how few people actually apply to these. So it's beneficial to attempt to fill out some of these scholarships and just see if you can get it. So looking through the list and checking if you fit the criteria for it could be really helpful to you. And that's it.